Welcome to Season 3 of Skillcast, the podcast by the London Organisation of Skills Development. I'm Nurbanu, I'm your host. I'm beyond excited to kick off another season of powerful insights, real conversations, and game-changing skills. This season, we're leveling up, bringing you deeper conversations with experts and visionaries who are redefining success. From mindset shifts to must-have skills, we're unpacking what it really takes to stay ahead in an ever-evolving world. So if you're ready to learn, grow, and be inspired, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Well, welcome to Skillcast.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Certainly. So my name is April Ripley, and I am an intercultural strategist, government advisor, policy advisor, and ambassador of civility. I also represent an NGO as its Peace Ambassador to United Nations.
Oh, wow. You do so much. I think the one that really got to me was the peace. Tell me more about peace. Is there like peace in political sense or peace within your heart? Peace overall? What does that mean?
So when we talk about peace, right, peace starts from within. It's individual. People often act from a lack of peace or from a place of peace. And so we can look at that individually, but also within families, nations, obviously. And we're certainly in a very geopolitical tense time at the moment. But, part of diplomacy is to work to bring about peace, to have dialogue. And I've had people ask me, well, there's so much going on. Like, does diplomacy really work? And it does in a way, but it's like this, a dance. I call it an art and a science. There's a lot of things that you learn, different skills, but then there's the art to it, right? So there's no one way because you're dealing with individuals, actors. I think I shared that a little bit, knowing who those are, who are the stakeholders involved, and what are the common interests. So you try to look for common interests and mutual purpose and trying to bring that together to facilitate peace. So it's never ending, all right? It's never ending, but we still are quite engaged and do the best that we can to try to bring about peace.
So how did you get into the diplomacy and the role that you do? Like, what was it that you would?
Good question. So my background is actually in business. But I think, we talk about people having proclivity for things. And I remember even when I was young, that I always brought people together and talked. If someone was mad at another person, was like, oh, come on, how can we, how can you make up? How can you become friends? I got into events when I was in college, and I continued working with that after college in the fundraising space. So in corporate events and things like that, when they'd honor individuals, that were the recipients or their sponsors, they'd say, would you come and work with the sponsors? And I was like, what does that mean? And basically, it's hosting, it's a little bit of protocol. And it came easily to me, and I didn't really see it because a lot of times you're engaged with things that people see outside of you. And so mentors are also important in that space. And then I began to volunteer with different international organizations. And I was asked to serve on the board for one of those organizations. And the world opened up to me. From meeting people from all different, not just nations, but also spheres of industry and influence, from government to education to finance. And I was like, wow, the world is big, right? I haven't been everywhere in the world, but it's on my list.
Do you believe you manifested that life for yourself?
I believe that part of it was divinely orchestrated.
That's a lovely way to put it.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm a woman of faith, and I always believe that, God is peace, and He's love. And if people believe in love and peace, that's part of who He is. I think my journey and the people that I've met has also been of divine orchestration. I think it was me realizing that perhaps, I can do it. That the opportunity presented itself, and I shouldn't be afraid to say yes. And so there are a lot of yeses in my journey. And here I am today, traveling the world and trying to bring about peace and bring cities together and nations together, different organizations, from other NGOs and collaboration to different entities and interest groups.
Do you have a family at all?
I do have a family.
Okay.
I have 2 siblings, mom, dad. That's my family, but I have a global family. So I made this word up, right? So I took friends and family together and I called them my family because they're more like family to me. And I'm really blessed in that way and appreciative of my global family. Yeah.
So your immediate family, how do they feel about like your journey and this all this traveling?
So the journey is it's interesting because it's different. There wasn't my parents traveled a bit, but there wasn't anyone who really is doing what I'm doing. So it's new. It's like, how do you navigate through that? But they're very gracious and certainly supportive. All of us, even though we do different things, supportive of each other and what we believe that each other believes is part of their life's work and purpose.
So in the work that you do you bring in religion at all, or do you try to keep it more universal in terms of when you preach?
So I can't not bring it in the sense that that's a part of who I am. My faith anchors me and guides me to, and again, that love for people and humanity. When I'm dealing with different situations, as to say, whether it's negotiations or mediations, I try to get to the humanity of it, of the individuals. And again, one of my mentors, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, said, reduce everyone to a human. And I thought, that's a very interesting way to put it. We're sitting in the company of heads of state and royalty and the like. And he says, April, everyone at their core is human, wanting to know who they are, why they are, what their purpose is, why am I here? And so if you look at it that way, to realize that some titles are inherited, some you walk into, some are conferred, but at the end, everyone wants dignity, respect, consideration, and to feel that they bring worth and value, not just for their position, but as a person.
You go so deep into it. So aside from this, do you do anything else, or is that literally your whole and soul in your life?
It's interesting. It's a part of a thread. So I look at like our fabrics that we're wearing, right? Like there are multiple threads that make up the fabric. So I do a lot of work. I'm doing work with the women's organization in the state of Georgia, where I am. It's new for me. It's exciting. I have women from all over the world, different experiences. Some have lived over the world or traveled work. But I think for me, it's the exposure, because I love the new. I love meeting people, hearing their stories, their experiences. And again, how do we find the commonality of humanity? There's a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that is really a part of the ethos of the work that I do. And he says that we're caught in this inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny, so that what affects one directly affects us all indirectly. And we see that globally, right? If we go scientifically, there's a cause and effect. Like, you asked me a question, I answered back. Then you asked me something else. So it happens to us every day, but sometimes we don't think of that at a larger scale, but even bringing it back down into the community level or the family unit or relationships. And so that's what I bring to all the things that I do. And even here, being on this podcast with you.
You speak so elegantly as well, like with the whole, you're very poetic in the way that you speak. Is speaking just a natural thing for you, or is it something that you've done to enhance your ability to speak so beautifully?
Certainly. So I believe that we all come with gifts, right? Gifts that we discover. Sometimes we discover them ourselves. Sometimes there are other people that help us discover them. So I always, as I told you when I was young, I never met strangers. I was that, person in the elevator, like talking to strangers. Mom was like, don't talk to strangers, like be careful. But because I saw that I did have, and I had teachers that would tell me, we're doing group projects and presenting. And they said, that you could learn more about public speaking? So I did actually take a course on public speaking. and just kind of further honing it, getting some other, insights from experts, obviously. So I think that's also part of the growth and evolution of my work, but also just as we mature as humans. And I think it's important. I think you should invest in yourself. One of the greatest investments is in yourself. So even this podcast, for those who are listening, are investing in themselves, to better themselves, to gain more knowledge, and hopefully that knowledge to do, right? Not just to take it in, but to apply. And that is when real change comes through the application of the knowledge.
No, I completely agree. It really is about investing in yourself. So naturally, I'm actually very introverted, but when I'm on stage, I'm like quite extrovert. I'm actually quite naturally a good speaker. But even then, I still took a few classes with a coach just to enhance my body language, my posture, and people. It really is really about investing in yourself. There are a lot of people that are not willing to invest in themselves. Say, why should I do that? I can get information free on YouTube, for example. But it really is, when you invest in something, there is something special about that investment that you put in. The output's much more.
Yeah,
for sure. Certainly.
Absolutely. I have received executive coaching. I'm also an executive coach. And I remember one of my coaches telling me that we really only feel invested when we've had to sacrifice something. I thought, wow. And he said that some of his clients were so poor because he was just wanting to help the community that they would give him fish. And I said, well, certainly you wouldn't take their fish. And Doc says, no, because they need to know that there is an investment to be made. There's some type of sacrifice. And it's not all that a person has, but it needs to be something that connects. The value that you bring to it shows the respect and honor that you have for the value that you will receive from it. And I think that's important, that in any relationship, there should be reciprocity. And so being able to invest in yourself and receive that back, and then give back and then receive back, playing it forward.
Aside from the speaking and the work that you do you have any hobbies or anything you do for fun on the side?
Oh yeah, I like arts and entertainment. I love Broadway plays, musicals. Of course, I love to travel. You don't even have to ask that, right? I'm always looking where can I go next? That's not work related, but I love that. And then I just love time with family and friends. And I think that's important. I think it's important that we take time for ourselves to also rejuvenate, to just relax. I also like reading as well. But yeah, you'll catch me on a Broadway play any day.
It's really nice because when you switch off from your day-to-day job, you really can just unwind and give back, because talking about what you having this conversation right now, all about work all the time, but you were just talking about work just a few hours before. And then you were talking on the phone about work. And then the day before you were actually on a work trip. So the fact that you actually unwind, I feel like you can just relax your mind and just not go brain fog, brain dead.
Absolutely. You have to. And even when I travel for work, so what I will do, I will take a few days afterwards and just relax, enjoy the place, learn people, try new restaurants. I think that's important. And I think also that's important because you're learning more about the people that you're working with. And it's not necessarily the same people I was in a meeting with, but just the culture, the community. That I love to do, because then I can take off that business hat and put on just the relax and enjoy hat. And that helps me to bring balance in my travels. People ask me that, are you always working when you travel? I build in time. I do.
I love it. I love that work-life balance that you have going on. Yeah. So do you mainly just solo travel?
No, sometimes I'm in groups. I'll lead delegations, or I'm asked to help facilitate maybe 2 groups that are having events somewhere, or just one entity. So it really varies. And that's what makes it exciting. There's no 2 days ever alike. Literally, they're not. I can go from a Zoom call talking about agribusiness on the continent to talking about skills development in Central America. And this could all happen on the same day. So I literally feel like I've traveled the world sometimes in one day, but then I sit back and just realize how expansive the world is, how unique we are, but also common as humans, and some of the things that we need basically, but also the things that we desire. And that also helps keep me kind of, when you said balance, I also question that sometimes. Can we really balance, or do we find ourselves navigating through? Because there are times when we're out of balance and we can bring a little bit of stress, or other people can bring their stress into our lives and cause that. So I think it's having the tools in our kit to help us navigate through the stress, the me times, the times where the phones go off and we say we'll respond to the email in 48 hours. And we have to set boundaries for us. I think that's healthy for us mentally, spiritually, and physically.
How do you perceive religion and spirituality? Do they go hand in hand, or do you perceive them as two separate things when it comes to work?
So again, based on my faith and a lot of the principles that I read in biblical texts, there's a lot of things about diplomacy, about representation, about contracts and covenants, even in the law space. So they don't detach from me. For me, it's about relationship, my relationship with God, my faith in Him, principles that I live my life by that have helped me navigate the journey that I'm on and I'm still on. And I don't separate them. I think religion is more of man's kind of trying to form certain things, and because there are a lot of different religions, yes, different faiths and things like that. But interestingly enough, in the late 80s, there was a declaration in the United Nations of the top religions. There was Christianity and Catholicism and Buddhism and Hinduism. And they came to certain tenets that they all share like. One is to love people. Mm-hmm. One is to seek peace. The other is to treat your neighbor as you would treat yourself. We call it the golden rule, right? So you'll find that there are some commonalities in faith, but it all is to the end of treating each other with dignity and respect and recognizing that you're not here alone, that there is a higher source for our life, our living, and our connection. And that to me is what keeps me grounded in everything that I do.
Such an amazing personality and with such good virtues and values. People who are connected with you must be very, very lucky to know someone with that kind of personality.
I know you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We had learned so much from you and love the work-life balance and the time that you take out for yourself. Because when you take time out for yourself, you can serve others better in the best way possible as well.
Absolutely. An empty cup cannot pour out. But I thank you for the opportunity and for the work that your mom's doing. I mean, literally around the world. You are also ambassadors of peace and civility. And so I celebrate you and I honor you for your work. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.